Hello everyone, I'm Amulya BR from Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering and I'm from the department CAC AI. So today I'm back with another video of the subject Microcontroller and Embedded System and with the subtopic ARM Interrupt and Exception Concept. So let us look into the contents, what we are going to learn today. Introduction to interrupt, introduction to exception, the difference between interrupts and exception, types of interrupts and exceptions, exploring ARM exceptions, handling interrupts in ARM, real-world applications of interrupt and exception, smartwatch as an application of interrupt and its conclusion. Introduction to interrupts. Interrupt is a mechanism that is used by the computer systems to suspend the normal program flow and redirect the attention of processor to handle specific event or the specific request. When interrupt occurs, it interrupts the execution of current program, allowing the processor to promptly respond to time critical tasks or external events. For example, in computer systems, interrupts are like the virtual flags that is raised by external devices or the software to request the processor's immediate attention. So, when interrupt is triggered, the processor temporarily saves the current state, including the program counter and register values, and it transfers the control of the processor to a predefined routine called the interrupt service routine. So, this interrupt service routine is responsible for handling specific events that is associated with the interrupt that is requested. So after the interrupt service routine, it after its task is completed, the processor restores the saved state and the resumed interrupt program to where it is left off, it resumes. And so thus the interrupts will play an important role in efficiently managing the input output operations and also handling the real time task in various computing devices. Introduction to exception. So, ARM exceptions are specific types of exceptions that occur in ARM architecture based processes. So, an exception it refers to an unexpected event or condition that occurs during the execution of program. So, it causes disruption in normal flow of instructions. ARM processors they handle various events such as hardware faults, software interrupts, system calls, and many more other functions. These exceptions provide the mechanism for the processor to switch from the normal execution mode to different modes such as the abort mode or supervisor mode and many more. Exception handling is essential in ARM for maintaining the stability and security of the system as well as for enabling the features like multitasking and system control. The ARM architecture it supports various type of exceptions which are used to handle different situations to respond in a different way. Exception the processor can take appropriate actions to ensure the system stability. It can handle errors gracefully. Now let us look into the difference between interrupts and exceptions. So interrupts, so these are usually done by the hardware and exception is usually done by software. So the occurrence of hardware interrupts will usually disable other hardware interrupts. So in exception, it does not disable anything. And in interrupt, these are asynchronous or external requests for service like keyboard or printer needs service. So in exceptions, these are synchronous requests for service based upon abnormal events like illegal address or illegal instructions, etc. Being asynchronous, interrupts can occur at any place of the program. But exceptions, they are synchronous and they occur only when there is abnormal event in program that is like divide by zero or illegal memory location or illegal instructions. So interrupts are normal events and they shouldn't interfere with the normal running of the computer. So exceptions are abnormal events and they often result in the termination of the program. Here we can see the different types of interrupts and exceptions that occur. So they are software interrupts or fast interrupt requests, abort, undefined instructions. So these are various types of interrupts and exceptions. Let us look into the deeper definitions of all these in the further slides. Here, let us look into each interrupt and exceptions. So first is reset. So this condition occurs when the processor is just turned on or the system is just initialized. So then is undefined instructions. So this type of condition occurs when the processor does not recognize the instruction that is specified in the instruction is not specified or it does not recognize the instruction. So abort, so this prefetch abort arises from memory access errors, like for example, it is invalid address or the permission is not accessible. So that time it does the abort. Then interrupt, it is generated by external hardware device to grab the attention of the processor to perform some other specific task. Software interrupt request. So it allows the software to request for specific services from the operating system. And then prefetch abort. So this type of abort occurs when there is an error in the instruction fetch. Data abort. So this type of abort occurs when there is error in the memory access. That is any illegal memory access or the invalid address location. So then fast interrupt request. So this is similar to the interrupt request, but this has higher priority than the normal interrupt request. Now let us look how to handle these exceptions or how the processor will handle these exceptions. Exception types, they include the reset, undefined, data abort, prefetch abort, software interrupt, and many others. So this is done, the handling is done by the vector table. So these processes have an exception vector table that is located in a fixed address. So this table contains address of exception handler routines that is corresponding to each type of exceptions. So then exception handlers for software. These software generated exceptions like a software interrupt. So they allow the processor to switch from the user mode to the supervisor mode uh, for the specific services that is to be done or it is requested by the software interrupt to the operating system. Exception handling routers or the routines, they are also known as exception service routines. So they are user defined functions that handle specific exceptions. Handling interrupts in ARM. So interrupt vector table. So this is similar to the exception vector table, but in interrupt vector table, there's a table that holds the starting address of the interrupts. So that is corresponding to the source of the interrupt. So and then interrupt priority. So different interrupts will have different priorities. So the ARM processor will implement simple priority system to handle this interrupts. And then interrupt service routine, uh, the processor after it executes the specific interrupt and then it returns back to the normal execution of the program. So by this the interrupts will be handled efficiently. Now let us see some real world applications where the interrupts and the exceptions will be used. So mobile devices. So in mobile devices, the ARM processor are mainly used in mobile devices. So they can be used for handling the touch screen inputs or the buttons like the volume buttons and also the call notifications or also the call incoming calls also. And then we have the internet of devices. So in internet of devices it can be used for handling wireless communication and also executing the tasks efficiently in the power saving or the power conserving battery operated devices. So medical devices, so the ARM processors with the interrupt association, so it can also be used for the patient monitoring system and also the medical imaging devices and some medical instruments too. aerospace and defense. So the ARM exceptions or interruptions is also used in the avionics field, where it is responsible for performing some time critical operations, um, or some highly confidential matters that requires very time efficiency. Let us study the smartwatch as an application of interrupt. So the first feature will be the user input. So the user inputs will be mainly in the form of the taps or swipe or pressing any buttons or some switch to navigate through menus and the notifications, setting of alarm, etc. And data handling, the sensor data handling. So when, for example, when the heart rate or the sense of heart rate, it detects a pulse, so interrupt can be generated to start heart rate monitoring and processing of it. So this makes use of heart rate monitors or accelerometers, gyroscopes, and ambient light sensors, etc., to monitor these types of sensing elements. And then the display management. So, this smartwatch uses the interrupt to display the uh, efficiently. For example, it does not need to continuously polling changes. For example, the time need not be changing every now and then, so the display will go on and off so that the battery is consumed and it is saved there. So, and then the notifications and alert. When notification is received on the paired smartphone to the smartwatch, an interrupt is generated on smartwatch, allowing it to display the notification of the call or any message that is being notified to it. So, and then activity and fitness. For example, the smartwatch, it makes record of the distance that is covered or the steps covered each day, and it monitors the heart rate and also the oxygen rate that is present, and also it does the sleep counting, the hours of sleep it monitors. So all this is done in smartwatch. By looking at these, we can tell that interrupt is a very essential or a useful thing that is work that makes a smart watch work efficiently. We can also conclude this by telling that various real world applications, including the mobile devices, automotive systems, industrial automations, the medical devices, and many more fields require interrupt and exceptions. So, as the technology continues to advance, the efficient handling of interrupts and exceptions in ARM process, it remains crucial for building the safe and responsive and reliable systems. I would like to thank each and everyone for watching the video completely till the end. And I also request everyone to please like the video and share the video with your friends. I also assure you to come back with another video of different topics. Until then, have a good time. Thank you.